Morning and welcome to today's webinar. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes just to make sure that everyone who wants to join can get themselves logged in and in a comfortable viewing position, hopefully maybe with pen and paper. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes to wait for everyone to log in. Oops. Go back to full screen. Right, so let's get started then. Oh no, hang on. Apologies. The slideshow's going automatically. Technical issues. Me and technology. Let's try and go back to... Okay, right. Let's hope I get it right this time. Morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. It's my great pleasure to be talking to you today about how I've made the journey from being a teacher to being what I would now call a professional network marketer. So let's get started. So I would love to say that my journey has been the straight line that I anticipated it to be. I thought that, you know, when you know where you're going, I thought it's fairly easy to get there, isn't it? Well, it turns out there's loads of twists and turns in the journey. But what I've come to discover over the years is actually every single one of those twists and turns, that has been a massive learning experience for me. And it's actually been an opportunity for me to learn and to grow at every step of the way. So as I talk through the twists and turns that has been my journey from working 9 to 5, essentially, it doesn't matter whether you're a teacher or you work in some other capacity, you know, making that transition from working full-time to being a network marketer, it can be a little bit tricky. And if anything that I share today can help you to maybe overcome some pitfalls, maybe to make some better decisions at the time, because maybe something I said has resonated with you and it's reassured you that, okay, this is to be expected, this is normal, these twists and turns, these happen. And if anything, just give you some reassurance that it's happened to other people, and whatever your goal is, you'll get there. It just may not follow the route that you were initially intending. So like I was saying, you know, we've got obstacles at every step of the way. We have life happens to us, but what I've discovered in the course of these 5 years is that the obstacles, they can be seen as obstacles, and you could let them stop you in your tracks, or you can see them as an opportunity. I really like to think of obstacles as being an opportunity in disguise. And if you view the obstacle differently, or maybe you know, have the courage to tackle it head on, you can absolutely overcome that obstacle and move on and create, you know, the life that you want. So let's go through my journey. So my journey actually began 5 years ago, and as you can see on screen here, I was heavily pregnant at the time with my second child. I already had a little toddler, Caitlin. She was nearly 2 years old, and we were moving house. The picture in the top left hand screen is us having just moved house. So to say that life was busy, you know, I was a teacher at the time as well. So obviously the summer term, it was busy still. I was moving house, I was pregnant. And when my friend Kelly offered me the opportunity to start a business, it was definitely not something that I was interested in at all. I thought, I've got enough going on, can't you see? And to be honest, I didn't really see myself as having a business like this. I was a teacher and I was happy, more or less happy with the job. I loved the actual job of teaching. There'd been a few niggles, a few promotions I'd been overlooked for, and that was causing a bit of stress and a bit of frustration, if I'm honest. And in some ways, that's probably why I decided to start my family when I did, because I thought I can't keep putting my life on hold for promotions which may never happen. And I always knew I wanted children. So there we were with a toddler, and I was pregnant with my second child, Zach, and this was in the July of 2015. And I think it was the third time that my friend offered me the business opportunity, and we had a really honest conversation. I said, no, I'm not interested in that. I like the sound of the discount, but I don't want anything else. She said, that's fine, you can just have the discount, no strings attached. I said, well, in that case, that's fine. You know, so I've always been one to see a good opportunity when I see one, and the opportunity to save, you know, 35% was massive for me. So I got started in the July, and very quickly it was the summer holidays, and like I said, I'd moved house, and actually it was a fab time for me because people wanted to come and see the new house. So rather than the house being the obstacle, it became an opportunity to say, yeah, sure, pop over, come and see me in the new house, and oh, whilst you're here, take a little look at these products that are in a basket. So if you remember, I said I didn't want an opportunity, but very quickly I realised that I was loving the products and I wanted to share them with people. And so I actually suddenly discovered a why. I discovered that, you know, with moving house and with a new baby on the way, remembering what tight times financially it had been when I had Caitlin, I thought, gosh, I could actually recommend some of the products that I'm using quite comfortably, and I could create a bit of splash cash. That was how I thought of it. You know, every time I sold a cream or some gels, it was literally cash in my pocket. And I really enjoyed going out for tea and coffee and cake and going shopping without having to worry if I was dipping into that precious savings pot that was going to see me through my maternity leave. So you can see in the middle at the top there, me doing, I think this was my very first product launch at home, and my friend had brought a lot of her products as well. So, you know, I was surrounded by boxes, but I didn't let it stop me. I just kind of got on and did it. I went back to school in the September just for another month, well, 2 months, I thought, before my son was going to arrive. And you can see me in the top right-hand corner there doing a product launch in the staff room. So again, you know, I used going back to work and being at work as an opportunity to share products wider. And I did a staff wellbeing event after school. And then my son made a rather unexpected appearance a month early. But, you know, there he is in the bottom left-hand corner, very, very newborn there. And I remember being in hospital, receiving text messages from people who obviously didn't know that he'd arrived unexpectedly over the weekend, asking me if I could place an order for them. And I was like, yeah, sure. So there I was. I remember my very first product order was placed 5 days when he was 5 days old. My first product order when he was, after he'd been born, was when he was 5 days old. And really I just carried on. Yes, it was a massive life event, but again, rather than it being a stumbling block, something which stopped me in my tracks, I said, yeah, that's great, I'll place that order for you. You can come over and you can meet Zach. And people were like, what? He's here? He shouldn't have arrived till November. And I said, I know, he's a month early. Eager to meet everyone. So I used it as an opportunity. Lots of people wanting to meet my baby, and obviously, you know, I was using our products on him. And so I was sharing that with all my new mummy friends. I was sharing that as well. And he came everywhere with me. So I didn't stop going to business presentations. At the bottom there, you can see, there I am at a business presentation in Leicester, and there's Zach on the front row, getting all the attention from all the ladies. And basically that was what life was like for a year. Zach was my little aloe sidekick. He came everywhere with me, to trainings, to events. I did manage some success days on my own though. That was kind of like an escape, and that was really nice. And during the course of that year, with that sort of clear intention that all I wanted to do was enjoy what I was using, enjoy what I was doing, make a bit of splash cash, I actually found myself having some great conversations about products, great conversations about the business. I remember really excitedly embarking on my first C9 once I'd stopped breastfeeding, so that I could, you know, start to kickstart that journey of weight loss. And I remember that being absolutely massive amongst my mummy friends at the time. And what I found is by the February of 2016, I had gone supervisor, and I met, so you can see a picture of me wearing a supervisor sash down the bottom there, and I'd met the lovely Emma at the time as well, who was looking for something to entertain herself with, I think, on maternity leave. She didn't want to be bored, and so for her it was a very short-term interest, but we worked the business together side by side, and she was really enjoying the journey, and as she moved through to supervisor, I was moving through to assistant manager, and you can see on the bottom right hand corner there, I was assistant manager, my upline was manager, and it was lovely. We were working together to all move through the marketing plan, and it was just a fabulous, really enjoyable experience. I didn't take the business too seriously. I just enjoyed having conversations, and it was fab. And that was brilliant for that first sort of year in business. If we move on then, what happened in the autumn is I knew we were getting to me going back to work after maternity leave, and I have to say, it wasn't till the summer that I started to have that sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. As I said, I actually enjoyed teaching. I loved being in the classroom with the children. I loved making a difference. And there was so much about teaching that I loved. But what I had realised is that it wasn't perfect. And I had been looking for other things that I might enjoy doing more. And so what I found is that over the course of the previous few years, whilst I was looking, I realised everything I was looking at was going to take a lot of time and a lot of money, and I didn't have either of those things. So I'd stuck with teaching and just hoped that I was going to get a promotion or something that was going to inspire me a little bit more. Let me just move that so we can see what that says. So there we go. And I saw it as fate, that I was supposed to be going back to school. I'd made a lot of demands about how I wanted to return to work and the days off that I wanted. And actually, they'd done absolutely everything that I wanted, given me exactly what I thought I wanted. But within about 3 weeks, I realised it just wasn't working for me. I felt the school hadn't changed. The school had always been the same. The environment had always been the same, but I had changed. And that's something that was really unexpected for me. That first year in business, I had, forever had become part of me, and my view on my life, my work-life balance had completely changed just by association with people who were, making decisions and taken control of their life. And I suddenly thought, gosh, I'm not sure that this is right for me to be in teaching anymore. I was in a job where I was timetabled within an inch of my life. I was always, I couldn't take a day off work during the term time. There was just absolutely no way. I couldn't meet my mum for lunch on her birthday. That just didn't happen. And if anyone who is a teacher or knows a teacher knows that it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's very much more than that during term times, and actually during the holidays you do still work as well, getting ready for back to school. But I remember taking this photograph because I had just made a decision in the October that it was very early. It was 3rd of October I took this photograph, and I remember the decision that I had made the previous night, which was, I'm leaving this job. And as you can see, I worked in a beautiful environment. This was a lovely entrance to walk through every single day. And on this day, it was pretty spectacular. And I remember taking this photograph and thinking, one day, this won't be the place where I work anymore. And that came with it some bittersweet kind of, I was pleased at the thought that I'd made a decision I was going to leave this and embark on a network marketing career. But I was also, sad to be leaving behind a career and a place that I'd really enjoyed working at. Life was incredibly busy. Obviously that year I now had 2 children at home, and I had my busy teaching job. So time management was kind of absolutely key to my success. Having the right tools around me at the time was also key. I remember always packing my bags and my car for the day ahead, not just with obviously my school books and my school planner and all of that, but with all the things that I needed for my business, because it became a priority for me to be able to build my business so that I could justifiably say, right, I'm going to hand my notice in, and at the end of the academic year, I'm gone. So it was a pretty powerful why. And every single day, my bag was packed with, I had brochures, I had literature, business information, I had products that I used all the time anyway. You know, I always used the Propolis cream, heat lotion, MSM. I always wanted them with me in any case. I'd regularly bring a shake to work so that I had something nutritious to have at break time instead of, you know, the usual crisps or chocolate that everyone else was eating. And all these things became a talking point for me. And the time that I did have at school, my break times, my lunch times, my free periods, I prioritized those times to become when I would talk and have some great conversations about the products and about the business. So sometimes those were in person, sometimes I was squirreled away in my classroom with no one else, no one distracting me, and I was sending messages or making phone calls. But that time that I had, which was very limited in small pockets of time, that became absolutely critical for all of those things. I remember doing one-to-ones during my lunch break. You know, I'd be eating my food really quick so that I could get on the phone or meet someone for a walking and talking one-to-one, for example. So, you know, it was a key time in my life. Oh, let me see if I can move on. It doesn't seem to be able to move me on. Let me just see if I can move the slide. What have I done? Sam, any ideas what I've done? I can't seem to move the slide. Thank you. Okay, right. So then what happened is over the course of that year, I was building my business with a level of focus and consistency. I was talking to people about the business regularly, and my team did grow. I got myself back to the stage where I was an assistant manager. In terms of the size of my business, looked like an assistant manager business as well, rather than the hobby business it had been before. And I was really comfortable because I'd reached the goal that I knew I needed, which was only about £600-700 a month. That's all I needed from this business to be able to say goodbye to teaching. And I'd set that as a goal, and then the summer holidays came, and that marked the end of my teaching career. So in the summer of 2017, safe to say I really enjoyed myself. I felt on top of the world because I had met my goals. I was bringing in the income that I knew I needed to be able to leave behind teaching. Literally, we just planned so much for the summer, and these are just a snapshot of some of the things that we did in the summer. You know, wonderful family times in the Lake District, at my aunt's caravan in Essex, and that's actually a photograph that I took when I was working. So I realised that I couldn't take all of the time that I wanted as holiday, and I just needed to put a little half an hour here or there into my business just to keep things ticking over. So that was actually a photograph in the middle of me actually snapping a working shot with the kids were in the background in the pool somewhere. And then we finally sort of did a culmination of an amazing summer in Mallorca, and we spent 2 weeks in September in Mallorca. And this was critical for me because I'd never been able to go on holiday outside of term time. You know, as a teacher, it just wasn't possible. And here we were with children that weren't yet at school age, and I really wanted to make the most of having an amazing time together. But the problem of the freedom that came with this summer was that actually, although I tried to put little half an hours into my business here and there, actually I wasn't as structured. I didn't have the same routine, the routine that I'd fallen into when I was working 9 to 5 and snatching time in my frees, but it was well-planned time. And now my time wasn't planned. I didn't have a structure or a routine. The activity that I was doing was hit and miss. It wasn't always income producing activity. Sometimes it was really fluffy stuff. And I remember thinking, gosh, it's amazing. I can have all this time now to work my business. And yet actually I can fill the time if I'm not careful. I can fill the time on something. I can spend 4 hours doing something, a whole morning on something, when I could have done it in half an hour. And this was a really important learning time for me, actually, about how to give myself timed, structured zones of time, how to compartmentalize a bit better and plan the activity that was going to be income producing first. So it was really, really important for me actually to have this as a learn. I kind of feel like I needed to go through this process and learn from it. So I don't know if any of this resonates with any of you. And obviously, sorry, I should have said, as I'm going through this, if you've got any questions, please do just ask, pop them in the Q&As below, and we'll talk through them at the end. But obviously, I did want I felt like I was going to, now I was assistant manager, I had all the time in the world, I thought my business would just grow. This was a very naive view of mine, but I kind of expected it to just grow. Well, now I'm on the path, aren't I? Surely I'll be manager before I know it. I'll be hitting those big incentives before I know it. Surely this is what's going to happen. It's just what happens next. And I've now given myself the time to do it. And what I didn't realize was that actually it was really important that you still have a why, a real reason why you're working your business. And actually I'd lost my reason. You know, my why had previously been so powerful. It was so powerful to know that I was going to be able to say goodbye to teaching if I worked my business hard during that last year. And now suddenly I'd left teaching, hit that goal, tick. I'd earned the money that I needed to be able to leave teaching, hit that goal, tick. And there was nothing else there. I really enjoyed my business still. I had a lot of fun doing it, but there was nothing deeper for me to connect to. And, you know, as we all know with this business, sometimes people come into the business for the long haul. You know, forever becomes a part of their life forever. Sometimes they literally just need a few £100s a month to pay off some debt. And when the debt is gone, they don't have a reason to work the business anymore. Maybe they'll always be product users. But what I found is that sometimes what was happening is there was the odd person in my team that was just sort of falling by the wayside. They didn't want to work their business to the level that they had done previously. And because I wasn't so focused with income producing activity, I'd stopped having as many good conversations about the business. And I was finding that actually I wasn't bringing more people on board with the business. And without that fresh new blood in the business, I was finding that my business wasn't growing. And in fact, it was fine until it got towards the end of the autumn in 2017. And I hit an all-time low with my CCs. And I thought, gosh, that was not expected. But that's what happens when you know, if you have a job, like when I was a teacher, if I didn't do my job, I didn't get paid. And, you know, if I didn't turn up to work, if I didn't plan good lessons, if I didn't do the marking, if I didn't write the reports, I didn't get paid. And what I realised is I didn't really give myself a job description for going solo as a professional network marketer. I didn't give myself a job description, and I didn't make sure that I did the right sort of activities every day. And I didn't really know why I was working my business. And as a result, I found that things started to unravel a little bit. So when I got my head around what I needed to do, and I decided that this was not okay anymore to be so uncertain in my business. I needed to know where I was going, why I was going there, how I was going to do it. And in the January of 2018, I decided to just put my teeth back in. I decided to decide. That's really quite a tongue twister. It was really hard actually for me to connect to a really powerful, motivating goal. I found it incredibly difficult. I've heard people in the past saying your why needs to make you cry, and I'd never cried over having a bit of splash cash or leaving teaching. Those weren't, they never did. So I just didn't really understand what people meant by that. And I really had to dig deep. And this was where I started working incredibly closely with Beth Turner. And it wasn't an easy process for me to figure out what I needed to do to motivate me to do the work I needed to do every day to build my business to the size that was going to make me happy. And at the time, I had a very socially acceptable sort of long-term why. At the time that I decided to decide, it was more about I had complete freedom in my life to plan my day around the children, around my business, and it was great. But we started to notice that my husband didn't have those same freedoms. And when we were looking forward to the year of 2018, we were really struggling with his holiday to try and do all the things we wanted to do so that he could enjoy them as well. And there was things where we actually just said, I'm afraid you're not going to be able to come to the caravan this year because you haven't got the holiday to take. And I think it was that made me start to think, gosh, wouldn't it be amazing if in 5 years time or so, maybe he could also have the same freedoms as me. And so by looking much, much further ahead, I was able to, at that time, connect to a reason why I would want to grow my business. I still didn't really know how or why it was, how it was going to happen. I didn't know how I was going to get us to the income level where he didn't need to work anymore. But I was prepared to do the activity that I needed to do to get off the ground. And actually, do you know what? It wasn't until a few months later that something else kicked in, and it was looking at going to the global rally. Now, the global rally, we were celebrating 40 years as a company. There was a lot on the social media about us being a 40-year-old company. And it was really exciting, you know, to see all the plans about going to the global rally. And I remember talking to my friend Martina in the wider team. So you can see a picture in the middle there of me and Martina with the lovely Gemma Easton and Gary Gretton. And we literally, with less than a month to go, we hatched a plan to go. Both of us felt that forever was in our blood and that we needed to be there. And we were both a bit cross with ourselves, I think, that we hadn't yet got to reach any of the incentives. We hadn't even got to manager yet, but we felt like we needed to be there. And we said, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's work our business really hard so that we earn our place at these rallies in future. But let's go. Let's make our business pay for us to go. And so we did it. And it was an amazing experience to go. And I actually I'd always been committed to my business. Even when I had a hobby business, I always looked after my customers. When I was planning to leave behind teaching, I always was committed to the activity I needed to do to get myself to that assistant manager kind of income level. What I didn't have, though, I think at that stage, was the conviction. And that's what came with this trip to Dallas. I suddenly had the conviction that this was where I was meant to be, and that this was what I was meant to be doing, and this was how I was meant to be feeling. So connected and so part of everything that Forever has to offer. And my mindset completely changed. And I think now, when I look back, that actually how I feel in my business has a massive impact on what my mindset is like, and therefore what my activity levels are like. So I suddenly felt so sure of myself in the business, and the pictures from Dallas, they're bringing back, I've got a little bit of goosebumps actually, because it was a massive pivotal turning point in my business for me. Suddenly my business activity became a massive priority. And I think it was around this time as well that there was an announcement about a change to how you could achieve the manager position. And I suddenly felt that I could do this over 3 or 4 months in a way that the 2 months plan to manager just felt a little bit beyond me at that stage. So I suddenly felt like there was a stepping stone way that I could get to manager. And I thought, gosh, yeah, I can do this. And I felt amazing about doing the activity, prioritizing it. And again, it was actually a phenomenally busy time. I've written down all the things that I had planned in the last 2 months. So in in April, May and June, in those last 3 months of when I went manager in June, I literally had a trip to Dallas, 2 weeks in Florida, a long weekend in a place called Flamingo Land. I had another long weekend at a festival. I had several days out because I was at that stage still an exam marker, which just sort of topped up my income a little bit. You see, at this stage, I still hadn't fully committed to Forever. I was still hedging my bets a little bit, and I was worried to let that go. And I remember being off down in London and doing loads of exam marking through a lot of June. And that was a month where I actually went manager, did over 50 case credits. And I think it just sort of showed me that, you know, when you're busy, when someone's not got a lot of time, actually sometimes there's that old adage, isn't there? Give a busy person a job to do and they will find the time to do it. And I was busier than ever. And yet, because I prioritized my business activity, I did make progress in my business, and I reached that manager position. So you can see the photos of, you know, it suddenly became a family affair. Suddenly all the family were here with me at Success Day, and that summer was incredible. There was a party in the park at Longbridge Manor, and it was just wonderful. The kids were in and out of Longbridge Manor, standing under the mission statement. You know, they know their way around that place now, and they became a massive part of the business. And you know, and we've never looked back since. You know, we're a family business. Obviously that photo of me and Beth and Gemma in the bottom right hand corner, it was a very, very exciting day to have finally reached manager and be celebrating it. So, oh, can I move on? My slides have stopped going again. There we go. Right, okay, so obviously then the journey continues, but how did it continue from there? Well, it's been a really interesting time. It's been a massive journey of self-discovery. I have continued to work on myself, like prioritizing working on myself to grow into the person that I need to be, to have the business, the size that I want to have. What I've learned is that over the years, it's been really important these last couple of years for me to feel happy in my business, to feel like I'm doing the best job that I can for my team, to help them feel happy in their business as well. And that team spirit is absolutely incredible. You know, we've got an amazing team spirit in the Go Network with Gemma Easton and Beth. And in the bottom left-hand corner, here we are in lockdown, having our masks and mocktails evening. So we had lovely socials, and that team spirit continued even under recent times. You know, with the adopted team, the people across line from me in the top left, Caroline and Julia in Andy Waring's team. So, you know, we've got an amazing team spirit, and the team spirit within my team, you can see some of my team in the top left there, Mary Schroelter, Kat and Debbie. And then the wider Go Network team, we've got such a good team spirit. And I think the team spirit lifts you. You know, when you're busy working your business and you have great days, your exuberance and your great day helps somebody else to feel great. When you are having a difficult day, you can draw the energy from somebody else in your team. They can help lift you. So I think the team spirit has been massive, and it's been something that has really developed over the last couple of years in my business. Working on myself, like I said, has been massively important, but also I've discovered that it's been really important to work on my business, not just in my business. So working in my business, you know, you can get lost in just the day-to-day, what you need to do, but sometimes it's really important to take a step back and have a look at what I'm doing. Oopsie, don't know what's happened there, do apologise. Any idea how I exit that, Sam? Like that, hopefully. Oh gosh, technology. I didn't touch the screen and something's happened, do apologise. Right, let's go back. Here we go, I think we might be back in. Okay, apologies. So yeah, it's been really important that I've learnt how to work on my business as well and take an overview so I can remind myself about where I'm going. Oh, I don't know what's happened. I've lost my screen. So to remind myself about what has happened, I'm hoping that Sam's going to pop this slides back on for me. To remind myself about what's been happening in my business, where I'm going, where I want to go, and just constantly make course corrections. Because like I said, you know, a journey, if you think about a plane or a rocket ship, you know, they don't just put in some coordinates and off it goes in a straight line. There's constant course corrections. You know, your journey will wiggle a little bit. It will deviate slightly from the path, but that's okay. So by learning to take time to work on my business and not just in my business, that's been really, really key for me. I've had to, especially recently during this lockdown period, massively compartmentalise my days and also the habits that I've formed because with lockdown, I'm sure everyone's had the same. They've had children under their feet. They've had a partner in the house that they don't normally have. And if you've also been working from home in a 9-to-5 job and trying to work on your forever business, I think when you're within the same four walls, it's harder to compartmentalize and segment your day into, I'm now working on forever and I'm now not working on my forever business. And it's been really important for me during lockdown to say, I'm working forever now, or I'm homeschooling the kids, or now I'm just stopping and having some downtime, I'm stopping for lunch. So compartmentalizing recently has been absolutely critical, and I think that the opportunity that lockdown presented was really surprising for me. It forced me to develop some really great new habits and to not not work my business all day, every day. I don't need to. None of us need to. It doesn't matter what size business you want. We don't need to be spending 8 hours a day at the desk working our forever business. And that's not why most of us don't choose to trade a 9-to-5 job to be just doing the same. You know, most of us would like to have a different lifestyle from the business, I think. If you develop really great habits, you know, like if you have a 9-to-5 job, you would always probably check your emails at a certain time as soon as you got into the office. Or with teaching, for example, I always planned my day ahead the night before. You know, I always planned what I was teaching and would make sure that I was ready and make sure I was prepared so I could hit the ground running the next day with all my classes. There is absolutely no way that I would have sat down at 9 o'clock in the morning to teach a class, not knowing what I was teaching, and say, hang on a minute, let me just spend 5 minutes checking what I should be teaching you and doing a little prep, and then I'll be with you. I would never have said that. And this lockdown period has really forced me to develop those habits to get organised the night before, so that when I sit down at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock the next day to do my forever work, I know exactly what I need to be working on and I can get straight on with it. Yeah, I've had to adapt massively, and that's not just been a case recently, it's been a case throughout the whole of my 5 years in business. I have had to adapt how I work, and that's changed regularly, but I think, again, just checking in and taking an overview to look at, right, what's life looking like now? Do I need to make some changes so that I get the right balance for me? So adaptability, I think, is massive. And just what I was going to just sort of finish with is that I'm really pleased to be now at the stage where I can see my business is back in growth and back in momentum, and I think it's definitely been a result of these really good habits that I've created, and that the constant checking in with where am I going and am I on track, and do I need to make a little course correction. And what I've now managed to achieve is 50 Club level 1. So I can now see myself definitely as a stepping stone goal to the Eagle Manager. I'm on track for Eagle Manager. And then I know I'm setting myself up for the other incentives like the chairman's bonus as well. So it's been an incredible, if you are sort of already at the manager position and looking for the next thing, I would definitely recommend 50 Club and then 75 Club and then 100 Club, because they're all set up to help you achieve those bigger incentives. And then I'll get to the Q&As at the end, but I just want to leave you with a couple of, sort of thoughts, things that I'm absolutely rubbish at remembering quotes. So the fact that these ones I can remember, whether it's someone famous that said it or someone that I work closely alongside, these are all things that resonate with me to the point that I remember them daily. So it's only the doing it that gets it done. Slightly obvious, and yet profound. You know, you can spend so long working on your business, but unless you do the activity that needs to be done, it's not going to get done. So that's the first one. It's only the doing it that gets it done. Another one, the Olympic medal isn't won on the race, but in the 4 a.m. training sessions every day. So for me, that is about me showing up every single day to work my business, even if it's only for half an hour because I'm on holiday, but just touching my business regularly means that I know I'm not going to be losing momentum. I'm still setting up those meetings for the when I'm back from my holiday, and I know that I'm moving myself in the direction of my goals. So it's showing up every day, whether anyone's there to watch you or not. The next one, it's a bit of a silly one, this one, but I love it. Do you want tea or coffee? Now, I think this was Paul Brown who I first heard it from. Do you want tea or coffee? And by that, what I mean is this business is so simple, and sometimes we overcomplicate it. If you invited someone round mid-afternoon and you said, do you want tea or coffee, or do you want chamomile tea, herbal tea, fruit tea? Suddenly you're overcomplicating it, and you generally don't do that. Normally what you do is you say, do you want tea or coffee? And if someone wants something else, they'll say, oh, I don't suppose you have. So we should keep this business simple and ask a question and wait for the response. And if we keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it, we actually will move ourselves into better conversations. So the next one, comfort zone. So this is a classic, isn't it? The comfort zone is a place where nothing grows. So I'm sure we've all heard this, but you see, the thing about the comfort zone is comfortable. and it's a nice place to be when you're comfortable. And the thought of leaving a comfort zone doesn't fill most people with excitement. I think the only people it might fill with excitement is if you think about it as an adventure zone. If you think about it as leaving the comfort zone to enter an adventure zone, that will really excite some people. So that might be how some people can move themselves out of the comfort zone, by thinking of it as an adventure. But for those people who don't sort of feel excited by the thought of an adventure zone and stepping into that, I think a really nice thing that I heard recently from one of my networking coaches, actually, not Inside Forever at all, she said about pushing the boundary on your comfort zone. So not actually leaving it, but just pushing it ever so slightly. So you're just, you know, maybe if you're someone who sends a message to invite someone to take a look at the business, maybe what you could do is just send a voice note. So maybe you're not making a phone call straight away, but you're pushing the boundary on what you're comfortable doing. And I think that that has been something that's really helped me to make progress and do more things that I previously wouldn't have done in my business. And this one is, this is a classic Beth Turner. She tells me this: the comparison zone is dangerous. And it's really dangerous. You don't get anything good out of looking sideways at where anyone else is up to in their business. She always tells me that your business is your business, their business is their business. It's nothing to do with you. She says that their business is none of your business. And I think that's brilliant. So whilst it's wonderful to be celebrating people in the business who are achieving the things that you want to be achieving as well, and that's wonderful, and that's the sort of business that we're in, do not compare yourself, because if you end up comparing yourself with where you think you should be or where you want to be, then I think all you're going to be doing is finding yourself in a dead man's land, and that is a really dangerous place to be. So stay out of the comparison zone, head down, do the work that you need to do. And I do think, so this is just a final couple of words from me, only you can travel your journey, so own it. It is your journey. I know that without some of my twists and turns, I wouldn't be the person that I am today, the business owner that I am today, the leader that I am today, the friend that I am today, the wife, the mum, etc. I know that those twists and turns in my journey were part of my journey. And yes, I've learned some things along the way which have stopped me from falling into some pitfalls, but I've also needed to embrace some of the things, some of the harder lessons that, you know, they were just part of my journey, and it was designed to teach me a lesson so I could grow and move forward and build the business that I want. And whilst I haven't got a slide for this, what I would love to encourage you to do is, if you have a goal, whatever your goal is, always dream a little bigger and have a little bit more planned than just that goal. If your goal is manager, then like me, you will probably get to manager, no problem, but then find yourself wondering what next. And in that wondering period, your business can take a dip. So what you need is, you always need the next 1 or 2 goals ahead. And dream a little bigger, because if we find ourselves as creatures who, you know, us humans, we're creatures who we shrink our dreams to match our reality, and I was certainly felt like that for most of my you know, a lot of my early stages of my career. I was very comfortable earning £600 or £700 from the business, because it kept me in the lifestyle that I enjoyed. I was able to be free and do the things that I wanted to do around the family, around the children, without working 9 to 5, without planning and marking in the evening, and it was great. And I didn't dare to dream a little bit bigger, because I felt really comfortable. I had a new house, I had 2 cars on the driveway. What did I need from a car plan? I was able to go on nice holidays. Why did I need to achieve any of those incentives? I just didn't feel it was something that I needed. And it was only when I started to dream a little bit bigger that I started to realise that I had actually shrunk my dreams to match my reality, and instead we can grow our income to match our dreams. Why not you? Why not dream really, really big? And why not live an incredible lifestyle? Because we have the power to do that, and it is only and it's our journey to take. So don't compare yourself sideways to what other people are doing, how fast they're doing it. It's your journey, and in your time, you will travel that journey and just completely own it and make peace with it and be happy with it. So I'm just going to little check of the chat box. Can I bring the Q&A up? Oh, I don't think we've got many questions. So I hope that that has helped. I don't know if it's resonated with any of you. I'd love to hear maybe some comments about, oh, I can see, and there's another chat box as well. Okay, so let's just see. So I'm just scrolling through some lovely comments. So thank you for those of you who've taken the time to comment. So I do have a comment here from somebody who's also a teacher, started her business 5 years ago as a hobby, and her circumstances have changed. She wants to build a business, but the person who signed her up and the person who signed her up have left the business. And I don't know what I should be doing and how to get some advice, basically. So yeah, I would love to help you with that, because actually the same thing happened to me. My upline and her upline and her upline stopped the business. And basically what I would say is just, we are one big massive forever family, and I would just plug yourself into the next person in your upline. You know, when you are showing that you're serious about your business, I absolutely guarantee that the next person upline from you will absolutely love to, you know, spend some time with you, helping you build your business and take those next steps. That's what I found. That's when a couple of years into this business, I started working much more closely with Beth and then Gemma, who originally were 6th and 7th generation to me. But just by plugging myself into their trainings and their team, I was able to obviously work really closely with them and go manager and beyond. So that's some lovely comments. So thank you very much. Just checking to see if we've got any more questions. Obviously, if something occurs to you after we've finished the webinar today and you just want to send me a question, you know, you can find me on Facebook, and please feel free to send me a question. That's no problem at all. Okay, so I think that's everything. Thanks ever so much for your time today. I do hope that some of what I said may have resonated with you, or that you know, you've taken some sort of reassurance or inspiration from my journey, and hope that it helps you in yours. And good luck with everything that you do. You know, when you know why you're working and you're prepared and committed to doing the income producing activity, you will achieve everything that you want and more. Thank you.